In short, injections are given from the thigh muscles, and then about every half hour another shot. It varies by individual, because who wants. On day 16, with warm blessings from all, Harry's team became underwater heroes, launching the rescue. Navy SEALs set up backup oxygen tanks and laid down lighting cables. This is not a movie, it's the real deal. Rick, a lookout, waited like a courier at a T-junction at KM from Pole 9, thinking he could report fast if the kid was fine. They then moved on to transport the next child. Upon arriving at the 9th cave, Harry and John learned they could only rescue 4 kids, a comical twist. The coach decided that the youngest 4 should escape first, while he stayed back as moral support. However, when trying to fit a mask on little Chai, it turned out to be so his spot was handed to another team member. The boy took a pill, hands tied, and just as Harry offered comfort, the anesthesia snuck in. Within 10 seconds, the boy was out cold easier than handling cargo. After checking, the boy's breathing was stable, and with limbs secured, the first underwater transport officially began like an underwater party. Without much pause, Jason pushed ahead while Rick delivered the good news to the rest like a breaking news reporter. Once the first kid was safe, the second transport kicked off immediately like a puzzle game underway. Meanwhile, the earlier kid started waking up underwater, and Jason stopped to give him another shot, but the syringe floated away. He bent down to search, and thankfully before the kid was fully awake, he scooped up the syringe just in time for another. Just when things settled, the transport of the second child at Cave 5 staged a dramatic scene. When the child's head went underwater, his breath stalled like a dropped call. But when flipped up, it was crystal clear. After several attempts, the boy finally regained the ability to breathe underwater. It was thrilling, but John's heart was still racing. After all, who wants losses due to their responsibility? Meanwhile, 15.5 hours later, Jason finally got the kid to Cave 3. The water here was nearly drained, so using ropes for transport was a smart move. It's worth mentioning, this stage of water removal and rope setup was mainly thanks to our Chinese rescue team's magic skills. First child was delivered to the cave, lifted onto a stretcher by medics, and flown to the hospital like a VIP shuttle. By nightfall, the 4 kids were placed on the helicopter. At the foot of the mountain, the staff overseeing the drainage saw the continuous safety signals and instantly pumped. When Harry heard from the doctor that all 4 kids were safe, he finally sighed in relief. The weight on his shoulders had finally lifted. Turning thoughts into reality brought not just relief and joy, but also extra pressure for the middle. The title of hero in the news not only brought fame, but also heaped on an invisible burden. On the 17th day of the rescue operation, things were tougher than usual, but today's rescue was extraordinarily smooth. 5 more boys were safely escorted out, and John and Rick rightfully became the greatest heroes of the day. However, we can't overlook the hard work of the staff on the mountain. For them, the water pipes brought in were proof of their effort. At this time, the old ranger creatively snapped a bamboo stick in half and turned it into a water pipe. Everyone was absolutely overjoyed, yet the dark clouds looming in the distant sky seemed to foretell the coming rainy season. That night, oxygen masks airlifted from Bangkok arrived, tailored for Chai. He must be bored waiting. However, along with that came heavy downpours like buckets of water. As raindrops pounded on the roof, they both knew the upcoming rescue would be challenging. After just one night of rain, the mountain floods submerged the fields, turning them into a muddy ocean. Before setting out, Rick confessed to his teammates that if he couldn't ensure his survival today, he would back out of this adventure party. Once they reached the cave, they discovered the previously drained water level was now nearly submerging their knees. Undoubtedly, the internal conditions of the cave had turned even more perilous. The strong currents posed a serious threat. The team unanimously looked to Rick, who must decide whether to risk life or play it safe. No pressure, right? Like fearless battlefield soldiers, they pressed on today's mission, full evacuation. Upon reaching Cave 9, they fitted little Chai with a mask, but it still couldn't seal completely. Stuck seeking an impossible solution, they improvised. Other kids set off, forming a relay. A sudden undercurrent caught everyone off guard, causing young diver Chris to drop his guide rope in chaos. He struggled desperately, but the powerful flow pushed him further away. Finally, he found the SEAL team's cable on the bottom and stabilized himself. He safely reached Cave 4, but the timing for the anesthesia was completely thrown off. To ensure the boy's safety, he had to hang back on shore waiting for help, while Little Chai's mask was finally ready. Harry quickly injected the anesthesia into Little Chai. Once his limbs were secured, they immediately signed up for the competition. In the end, the remaining coach and 2 trapped seals successfully made their escape from the shadows of the cave. Soon after, Rick spotted Chris waiting on the shore near Cave 4. After finding out the reason, he told Chris to care for the kid and follow Harry's instructions. After a considerable amount of time had passed, Harry, who was the last one to set off, finally arrived at Cave 4. He swiftly swam over to examine the child's condition and observed Chris' anxious and distressed expression, so he specifically asked about the situation. Finally, Chris accepted Harry's help, ensuring the kids' safety. In the end, all the kids were safely delivered to the cave entrance like hot potatoes. Subtitles: the children were delivered one after another. Despite the fact that the process was filled with constant thrills, everyone, except for 2 SEAL team members who suffered minor scrapes, remained unharmed. Seeing everyone safe, Harry finally completed this thrilling adventure, while secretly praying to be the spectator next time.